Today, the UFC is on the road. They're headed to Seattle, Washington, where in the main event, Song Yadong will step in the octagon with Henry Cejudo. Also, what about the co-main event, in which Brendan Allen makes his return against the dreaded Fluffy Hernandez? All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt, and we are here to go over the latest UFC card, which will go down this Saturday. It is coming to you from Seattle, Washington, in which in the main event, Henry Cejudo, former bantamweight champion, former flyweight champion of the world, steps in the octagon with Song Yadong. First off, before we jump into that, we're coming off of a UFC Apex card in which in the main event, Jared Cannonier defeated Gregory Rodriguez. Which that fight was funny to me because I picked RoboCop to get the win, but I actually said, if you go back and look at my pre-fight video, that if RoboCop loses this, it would be due to the fact that he gasses out early in the fight. And in the later rounds, Jared Cannonier, who will probably also be tired, has better timing in his shots, meaning better timing in his striking, and he would be able to time Gregory Rodriguez and eventually get the finish. You know what I'm saying? We can do the Cobby Lane. You know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, we're moving on from that card, which wasn't that, it wasn't really a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Let's not act like it was. It wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Let's not drum it up like that was the card of all cards. So let's move on to a slightly better card, in the card that's going down in Seattle, Washington. So, back to the main event. Henry Cejudo steps in the octagon with Song Yadong. So this is a fight that I was trying to pick, I was trying to break down, I was looking at all the angles of it, all the ups, all the downs, all the lefts, all the rights, in every other direction. And for this one, man, I'm actually going to go along with an underdog pick. I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo to go out there and get the win. And my reason for this, when I take a look, Henry Cejudo has only recently, and I know he's been out of the octagon for a long time. He takes a long time in between fights. But he's only lost to Merab, and he's only lost to former champion Aljamain Sterling. So what I'm saying to you is he's only lost to the current champion, Merab, and he's only lost to the former champion, Aljamain Sterling, right? And when I'm looking at this, Song Yadong, he recently lost to Yan, which, okay, it's Yan. But before that, he was on a winning streak. But as I'm looking at his winning streak, he beat Gutierrez. He beat Ricky Simone. I mean, he took a L to Corey Sandhagen. Before that, he was beating Marlon Moraes. You know what I'm saying? Marlon Moraes. I mean, I couldn't beat Marlon Moraes, but there's a long list of men that could. You know what I'm saying? So when you're talking about the strength of schedule, when you're talking about who they stepped in the octagon with, when you talk about the pedigree, of course, he's Triple C, he's Olympic champion, bantamweight champion, flyweight champion. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the pedigree of both of these men, I don't know, man. I'm going to lean into Henry Cejudo to go out there and get the win. Of course, I think Henry Cejudo's caliber of wrestling will be the difference in this one. And, we'll see. Because in Song Yadong's last fight, I felt like he went into it so overconfident that he was going to go out there and get the win that he almost was standing or striking with Yan at points like he almost had a disdain for Jan's style. You know what I'm saying? And you can't do that to another former bantamweight champion, you know what I'm saying, being Piotr Yan. You just can't do that, you know what I'm saying? And I wonder coming into this fight what will be Piotr Jan's mentality? I'm sorry, what will be Song Yadong's mentality? Is he going to come into this fight extremely arrogant, thinking that he's just going to go ahead and put Henry Cejudo out of there, put him out of there early, first or second round? Or is he really going to take the time? Did he really take the time to game plan? Of course, his coach being no slouch, being Uriah Faber, did he really take the time to really go back, close up a lot of the holes in his game? And he's going to go out there and really put on a great fight with Henry Cejudo. And is he taking Henry lightly? Henry being more towards the end of his career, not really sure how many more fights he's really going to go into the octagon. And Henry Cejudo is the kind of fighter that he's not going to fight too many times against guys like Song Yadong. You know what I'm saying? Henry Cejudo wants to go out there and fight for the championship again. He wants big money fights and he wants championship fights. He's not going to keep going into the octagon with guys that don't get him that. Now, I'm assuming that the UFC matchmakers, because Henry Cejudo is not just going to sign up for any fight. So I'm assuming that they've talked to him. They've kind of maybe, behind the scenes drawn out a pathway for him to get back to the title. And that starts with going through, Song. But we will see. But in my opinion, I think Henry Cejudo, after taking those 2 losses, I think this is a man that really, really game plans, that really, really looks at every angle of the opponents he's fighting. And when I'm looking at it, I think with Aljamain Sterling, he just ran into a guy that was a better wrestler, younger in his career, and a little bit more hungry. And I think he just ran into a cardio animal that is Merab, who also, proved himself on that night to be the better wrestler. And I think he just ran into 2 animals that at this stage in his career, he's not going to go out there and beat these guys. You know what I'm saying? But with Song Yadong, I think that's a little bit different. I'm going to go along with the underdog pick of Henry Cejudo to go out there and to beat Song Yadong. And for this card, I'm not really going to go over all of these fights. I'm just going to talk about some fights that I'm actually interested in seeing. This one being one, because I think if Henry Cejudo goes out there and wins, I don't really know what it does for him, because I would never favor him in a fight against Merab. I just wouldn't. So I don't know, I wouldn't pick him against Umar. So I really don't know where he goes, other than taking these weird random fights against guys like Song in the division. And even though the UFC may have, played a little trickery on him, you know what I'm saying, and had him believing, yeah, if you beat Song, the world's your oyster at the top of the division. But realistically, looking at the top, I don't think a lot of those guys Henry beats. But nevertheless, man, if they sold him that bill of goods, you know what I'm saying, and he went along with it, then he went along with it. What are you going to say? You know what I'm saying? But I got Henry Cejudo go out there and get the win. Here's what we doing in 2025. Let's normalize not going over and trying to pick a fighter on every single fight, on every single card, because the UFC ain't really bringing the heat. You know what I'm saying? They just not bringing the heat. You know what I'm saying? They made too much money off of this ESPN deal. I know it's a renegotiation year coming up, but still, they're not bringing the heat yet. You know what I'm saying? They're just not. So that's what we're going to normalize. We're not getting ready to go through every single fight on every one of these cards just to be throwing out picks, What we are going to do from now on is fights that intrigue you, boy. That's what we're going to talk about. We might not even make picks. We're just going to discuss the fights. But in this one, I'm picking Henry Cejudo. Let's move on. Let's talk about the co-main event, which I'm very interested in seeing. Brendan Allen sits back in the octagon. He's had a little bit of a hiatus. He steps back in there with Fluffy Hernandez, Anthony Hernandez. Bro, I'm excited to see this fight. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to get right to the point. I ain't going to hold y'all. I got Fluffy Hernandez all day. Fluffy Hernandez is a fighter I've picked against multiple times. And this man just continues to go out there and win in spectacular fashion. You know what I'm saying? This guy, he's coming off of a win over Michel Pereira. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm going to be real with you. I did not pick him to win that fight. Michel Pereira was made to look like an amateur in there with Fluffy Hernandez. The man went there, did his thing. Before that, he beat Kopylov. Before that, he went out there and beat Shabazian. Outside from the gentleman he fought last week who don't beat Shabazian, but nevertheless, he beat Shabazian. Before that, Power Bar, Mark Barrialt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just looking, bro. I mean, it all started with your boy, Vieira. You know what I'm saying? Subbed that man. That's what really got it all cracking. You know what I'm saying? Recently. And it's just like, hold on, let me keep on going. Because this dude is on a win streak. Let me keep on going. The last time this man lost, strangely enough, weirdly enough, was to Kevin Holland, May 16th of 2020, is the last time this homie lost. Very, very interesting, bro. But nevertheless, man, Fluffy Hernandez is doing his thing. I'm here for this man to get a title shot, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many times he's going to have to win before they're going to offer that up to him. You know, given where his division is at right now. I mean, right now at the top, it's Dricus du Plessis, Steel Knox, and it's Khamzat Chimaev. But after that, though, Fluffy Hernandez got to be knocking on the door, right? Right? I mean, I'm not looking at the rankings at the moment, but Fluffy Hernandez got to be knocking on the door, right? And for Brendan Allen, I think Brendan Allen has a sometimey style to me. You know what I'm saying? He has a wishy-washy style. He has a style that goes one way, and then the wind blows, and it goes the other way. And a lot of the times I feel like he can't really decide if he wants to be a striker or if he wants to utilize his ground game, his jiu-jitsu game. I think he really has trouble with that. And I feel like, and you're like, what trouble would that be? If you're good at both of them, wouldn't you be winning fights? Not so fast when you're talking about Brendan Allen. Because he's not, his career is up and it's down as far as his wins and losses. And a lot of the time when I'm watching him fight and you think, okay, against this opponent, he's going to utilize more of a striking style. Then he tries to go out there and grapple and he gets his head bashed in. Or he decides, well, this time I'm going to go out there, I'm going to use a little bit more of grappling. Then he tries to make it a kickboxing bout and it doesn't work well for him. So, I don't know, man. He's just not as consistent as I would like him to be. I'm going to go along with Fluffy Hernandez to go out there and get the win. Nevertheless, I think this is going to be a good fight. Because for as long as it's on the feet, I mean, Fluffy Hernandez can crack. And he strikes in a way just to getting close to you. And with that being said, he's a comparable striker. Like, he doesn't look bad on the feet. So I'm not saying he's one of these guys that literally, he's not like a Mackenzie Dern. He's literally only striking to somehow try to get some sort of a grasp on you. That's not really his style. I mean, his striking actually has really looked good. With each one of these fights, he keeps leveling up and looking better in each fight. So I got Fluffy Hernandez to go out there and get the win. Another fight that I sort of got my eye on, we got Rob Font against Gene Matsumoto. So this fight was supposed to be Rob Font versus, Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz sustained a bad shoulder injury and decided he wasn't going to keep doing this. And so he is retired. Shout out to Dominic Cruz, as he rides off into the sunset. I don't think this is a good replacement fight for Rob Font. I think Rob Font definitely had a chance of getting a win against Dom Cruz. But on this, I think Rob Font's going to go out there and I think he's probably going to get submitted, to be honest with you. I just think he's going to get submitted, Now, this is new Rob Font. If you didn't see him when he walked out with your boy Calvin Kattar last week in the Apex, this is bald-headed Rob Font. This might be a new mythical MMA character. You know what I'm saying? Up there with C-level Cain Velasquez. You know what I'm saying? This could be a new one. Bald Rob Font. This could be a new one we haven't seen. Nevertheless, I got Gene Matsumoto to go out there and get the win. We have Jean Silva. I don't think it's pronounced Jean, but I'm going to pronounce it Jean Silva. Stepping back in the octagon, barking, acting crazy, acting wild, representing the fight nerds. He's stepping in there with a man that I cannot pronounce his last name. I will not attempt, but that is no disrespect to that man. That's just because I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and it becomes hard to pronounce some of these names. But his first name is Milsic. And that's a good, strong name, and I like it. But I got Jean Silva to go out there and get the win. I mean, you know, the rest of this card, I don't know. How about, my boy, Andre Fili. Andre Fili's touchy-feely, pause, stepping in the octagon. And he's stepping in there with Mackenzel Costa. And I probably butchered his first name, and I apologize, sir. But Costa and Fili, this is going to be a good fight. This is one of the ones I had circled. You know what I'm saying? If I had a calendar of UFC events and fights, I'd have it circled. I don't possess such calendar, but if I did, I'd have it circled. This is a fight that I think is going to be really good because Fluffy Hernandez looked outstanding in his last outing. Now, he is also a sometimey fighter. He can be up, he can be down. I've always been a tremendous fan of him, though. Outstanding guy and outstanding person in real life. But Costa ain't no joke. You know what I'm saying? Costa ain't no joke. This guy has a really weird, awkward striking style and also an even more awkward grappling and jiu-jitsu style. So I think this will be an outstanding fight. This is going to be one that's going to be tough for me to call. I mean, the fan in me wants to go along with Andre Fili because I'm a huge fan of him. I'm a fan of Costa, but not as much. But this one is going to be one that I'm just going to sit back and enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't even really know where to go on this one. You know what I'm saying? And if for all the betting people out there on DraftKings, I would probably lean toward betting on this one to go to a decision as opposed to a finish. But as far as picking a win or a winner or a loser, you know, it's kind of, I mean, Costa is the slight favorite, but this one is going to be interesting. I wouldn't really pick this one to go to a finish, and I wouldn't pick a winner here. I would probably lean more toward this one going the distance. But nevertheless, this is one I definitely want to see. You know, we'll see how it turns out. Outside of that, Javid Basharat is making his return to the octagon. He's coming off of a loss. He was on a nice little win streak. He had his last fight was a loss. Stepping in there with Ricky Simone. I got Basharat all day. Ricky Simone, in my opinion, and that's no disrespect to the man because I like Ricky Simone, I think he's just kind of playing out his contract, you know. And there's no harm in that, no disrespect. But I think he's kind of playing out his contract, and I could see him definitely moving over to like the PFL, something like that. So as long as he don't go to the GFL, you know, bro, look, Ricky, if you listening to this one, once you finish out your contract, go to bare knuckle fighting for him, I think would be a good move. You know, he's not the best striker, but hell, who is in bare knuckle fighting? You know what I'm saying? Can you scrap? Is all it boils down to. But if he don't go there, I would go to the PFL. Don't sign up with anybody else. Don't even waste your time. Nevertheless, I got Basharat to go out there and get the win on that one. But, you know, those are just a couple of the fights I'm looking at and, you know, looking into checking out. Ones that your boy has circled on his mythical MMA calendar. So, nevertheless, please let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, comment. And once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I check you next time. Peace.